Well, good morning, guys. We'll get started here on another bedhead. This time we're going to be in John 6 as we continue our track through this particular gospel or story of Christ. And we're going to start out in verse 1 as we talk about Jesus feeding the 5,000. So let me read through this and then we'll just kind of babble away at it. Verse 1 says, "Sometime after this, Jesus crossed to the far shore of the Sea of Galilee. And a great crowd of people followed him because they saw the miraculous signs he performed on the sick." So we continue to see this pattern of people following him because of what he can do at this point more than what he's saying, which is his main purpose for coming. See, then it says, Jesus went up on the mountainside and he sat down with his disciples. The Jewish Passover feast was near. When Jesus looked up and saw a great crowd coming towards him, he said to Philip, "Where shall we buy bread for these people to eat?" He asked this only to test him, for he had already had in mind what he was going to do. Philip answered, 8 months' wages would not buy enough bread for each one of these people to have a bite. Another of the disciples, Andrew, Simon Peter's brother, spoke up, said, "Here is a boy with 5 small barley loaves and 2 small fish, but how far will they go among so many?" Then Jesus said, "Have the people sit down." There were plenty of grass in that place, and the men sat down, about 5,000 of them. Jesus then took the loaves, gave thanks, and distributed to those who were seated as much as they wanted. He did the same with the fish. When they had had enough to eat, he said to the disciples, "Gather the pieces that are left over. Let nothing be wasted." So they gathered them and filled 12 baskets with the pieces of the 5 barley loaves left over by those who had eaten. After the people saw the miraculous sign that Jesus did, they began to say, "Surely this is the prophet who is to come into the world." Jesus, knowing that they intended to come and make him king by force, withdrew again to a mountain by himself. So what we've got is kind of an interesting setup as far as a need versus supply, and when he has to feed the 5,000. And I think, and forgive me, this is part of the bedhead. I just kind of read these and write down a couple things on a post-it note and then just get to going. So I don't do as much research or polish, I can't say polish, but as research as I do on messages on Sunday mornings. But the main thing that stands out to me here is it talks about in verse 4 that the Jewish Passover feast was near. And usually when an author puts something like that in, it has some kind of implication into the story. I've not really researched that, so you might want to do that as an additional Bible story of why that was so important. But it appears with the Jewish Passover feast being near, that would be why maybe so many people have traveled and they're close to Jerusalem. It might be hinting at why the need was there, that maybe there was something within the ceremonial guidelines or the law around the Passover that they needed to be fed as well. But whatever the case may be, as these people coming to see Jesus, there was a need, and he wanted to be able to supply that as that need came to his gate. So we see a few different reactions when Jesus starts exploring it to see what the hearts of his friends and his followers are. First we come across Philip, and we see this, I think, quite frankly, a little bit too often within the church is when a need arises and it comes to the gate that we just kind of look at the budget real quick and say, do we have it? Nope, we don't have it. Well, obviously we can't do anything about it. What are we going to do? If we don't have it, we don't have it, and kind of shut down there. I think it keeps the church from being as effective as it could be in the world. I think it keeps us as individual Christians as effective as what God wants us to be in the world, when we have a focus of just looking at the checkbook and seeing whether or not it's there. Then from there, we go into Andrew, who spoke up on his own accord, kind of jumped in, and instead of being asked like Philip was, and he says, "Well, we do have something. We just don't have much. We got these 5 small loaves. We got these 2 small fish. We just don't got a lot. What can we do with that? It's not going to go that far." But at least he was looking at the resources instead of just kind of having an immediate reaction of just, man, that's just too big of a need. We can't do anything with that. So he was trying a little bit. And so that's a step up. But where I think Jesus wants our heart to be, and where he's shooting for is us. He's like, look, the need's there. It's at our gate. We're going to take care of it. And if God brought it to our gate, he's going to give the provision. So you bring what we got. We're going to, we'll pray over it, have these people sit down, and we're just going to go for it. God has got plenty of provision to take care of these needs. So in faith, knowing that his daddy's got this, they moved forward with what they had, And then we see this great miracle that we talk about all the time, as far as all these people being fed to the point that there was leftovers. There was, 12 baskets of leftovers, and he didn't want any of it to go to waste. It didn't just lay on the field for the boats to come get. They collected it up, and it went someplace else. Maybe another ministry that they were doing in another place that had need. They made sure that all of that of God's provision was used, and used well. So I think we can be really encouraged by that. I think a lot of times when God wants to use us, He doesn't necessarily show us the supply first as much as the need first, and we just need to trust that God's got that need. Now, we can't fix everything for everybody. We were just talking about this in church this week as we were talking about generosity. It's kind of interesting to see this thread going through John, but we can't be everything to everybody. We've got to be able to know what God's bringing to our gate and what He's not. That takes discernment. That takes prayer through the Spirit. But what He brings to our gate, we do. It was just that simple. Whether or not we think we have the resources or not, we trust our Abba Father to provide what He leads us to. And so I'm looking for more opportunities like this in our life, and I hope you're looking for more opportunities like this in your life. We had probably one of the biggest compliments that I've gotten in a while. We were meeting with some friends a couple of days ago who have been newer to the church, and they were unfortunately, well, there's a yin and a yang to this. This is kind of sad, but also good. That they had come over from a different church environment that was larger, had a lot of resources, and but didn't match up with their heart of wanting to help others or help into the community. And one of the things that they said was kind of appealing to them fellowship-wise is the efforts that they're seeing there outreach-wise and help-wise, as far as with Jenny's ministry and everybody that jumps into that, as far as manning the food pantry over Kilpatrick Church of Christ. Again, it's not our food pantry, but we man it once a month. And then, with Leaping, with the clothing closet downtown that we volunteer at and help with, or some of the other efforts that we're doing. And they were making a comparison about the smaller church that doesn't have a ton of resources, taking and being able to do some things that they kind of wish they saw in their other church environment. And we were sharing with them that I've just kind of found, and it's been part of our church history, part of our church personality, to network with other ministries, to be able to support each other, and to be able to find needs or answers to needs for people. And we don't have a lot, but God has always provided answers for the needs that He brings to our gate. And so we've been pretty pumped about that. Now, I'm real aware of, and I'll go quickly on this. I keep talking about the gate theory, and I don't know if I've ever really explained it on here for those who don't come to the church. There's a story in Luke where Jesus is talking about Lazarus and the rich man. Lazarus is a beggar, not his friend Lazarus, but different Lazarus, is a beggar that's at this rich man's gate and needs help, and the rich man continues to ignore him, and it has dire consequences and doesn't go well for the rich man. But the part that we have taken from that, one of the things we've taken from that in our church personality, is that the reason that the rich man was guilty in this is not because he didn't fix everybody's need. The story doesn't talk about the beggar that's 3 doors down. It talks about the beggar that was at his gate, that guy was at his gate, so he was his responsibility. And that's how we gauge the best that we can what God's wanting us to do, and then He'll provide for us to do. If He brings something to our gate and says, hey, guess what? This is at your gate, it's yours to deal with, then we deal with it. We find a way. Whether or not the budget's there, whether or not the resources are there, God always provides. And that's been proven to be true for 9 years for us. And I think it's proven in our individual lives as well. There's people that He brings to your gate that you might want to explain away. Don't explain it away. Be part of that testimony, and get excited about it and let God move. It's awesome stuff to see. The last point in this, and then I'll finish up here, is keeping it right with God. Oftentimes that we find when Jesus has got this big experience that goes on and everybody's excited and He's really popular and He's got this power right there in front of Him, He disappears for a little bit. He goes and just gets in prayer and He gets Himself right with His God and makes sure that everything's focused. So we've got to watch that too, because helping people can become addicting, that we start doing it to get that rush. We don't do it to get the rush. We do it because we're being faithful to our God, and we're keeping our mission, and we're telling people the gospel message of Jesus Christ. So make sure you stay on track, and your time with the Lord is part of that as well. So I've overstayed my welcome. We'll talk some more hopefully tomorrow. Tomorrow I got to get up extra early and be down at WMRN for some things with Back to Church Sunday that's coming up this week. But I'm going to try to get up early and get one of these snuck in. So hopefully I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Thanks.